There's a waterway near Bathurst, proud home of this Angus and Coot.
Yes, come inside. This is where you want to buy your jewellery, where everything is always 40% off.
It's called the Wimbledale Rivulet, and it is, according to scientists, drought-proof. So naturally, Bathurst Council, along with the Nationals, thought,
what's this? Something that's good for everyone? Well, we'll just see about that!
artificially dried it up for no reason. Wow. I can see why they're continually re-elected unopposed. Wimbledale went from looking like this to this. Would it surprise you to learn that making the Wimbledale Rivulet indistinguishable from the Bathurst 1000 track caused the local extinction of platypuses? As who'd have thought? Platypuses aren't desert animals. They require a tad more water than a fucking thorny devil. Not just platypus either. Freshwater mussels, frogs, water rats, which... Kinda glad they got wiped out, can you blame me? And the reason the council gave for making Australia's most loved animal extinct, the water rat, was, say it with me everyone, I know you know the words,
the drought.
You know how everything used to be God's fault? Failed crop, act of God. House burns down, act of God. Everyone dies in a flood except 2 of every animal and a handful of the purest Christians.
Well, yeah, that's God. It's in the Bible, duh.
I swear at some point, I'm assuming it was the 80s, regional politicians decided to replace the word God with drought. It's never their incompetence or greed, oh no. Even when there were massive storms upstream that were so big, the dam was receiving 200 to 300 megalitres of water a day. To give you an idea of that scope, that's how much the council was promising to let flow downstream into the rivulet each year. So a year's supply of water stopped by the dam. Put aside that works out to be a little over 0.7 of a meg a day, and scientists estimate that the rivulet needs 2 to 4 megs a day, but oh no, if they actually listened to reality, they'd have to sacrifice 3 days worth of excess water over the span of a year.
Christ! Don't these tree huggers understand that have Blue Haven pools that they need to keep perpetually full because there's a 30% chance that Kayla wants to have a swim on Christmas?
You know what's pathetic? Greg Hunt's entire life, but also not a drop of those massive quantities of excess water the Bathurst Council was hogging went to households. Not a drop. You can tell because water extracted from the dam wasn't even drinkable at the time, and households weren't even put on the highest level of water restriction, meaning any excess water usage from the dam went to watering fucking ovals and golf courses, which I'm sorry, golf in Bathurst? What high-flying businessman are you trying to impress in Bathurst? What's their classic?
Proud owner of EB Games versus owner of that Angus and Coot shop.
Probably not even, as I'm sure the owner of EB Games plays Lee Cavallo's putting challenge, not actual golf, and despite all that water wastage, all that hoggery, the dam just a few weeks before that photo was taken was at 71% capacity. They caused an ecocide to a rivulet that will never recover from that, forced farmers downstream to kill off all but their core breeding stock, while they pulled a Jane next to Elaine in the toilet cubicle of, I'm sorry, but there's just not enough to spare.
You can't spare it?
No, there's not enough to spare.
Well, I don't need much. Just 3 squares will do it.
I'm sorry, I don't have 3 squares now, if you don't mind.
This is exactly the same problem I have with nuclear power. You can build these things, they might even run perfectly like this dam did from the 50s till now, but if you give humanity the power of God, at some point, some dickhead from Bathurst will be God. And though this God's pool might be full, I highly doubt he's smart enough to keep the pH at the right level, let alone manage something as complicated as water allocation. But at some point, they're going to have their finger on the button, and they're going to decide, no, the rivulet's drought-proof, Bathurst Cricket Ground isn't. It's sacred. And that's just giving the power of God over one water system to one dickhead. Now meet the dickhead in chief, Melinda Pavey, who's in charge of all the water systems in the state, who comes from a party that's completely under the thumb of the cotton industry. So I honestly can't think of anyone worse. Like Sally from Oblivion would be an improvement as water minister. Ultimately, she runs the water police, which ironically are not the water rats. Should be. And maybe someone would give a rat's ass about the water rat. It's NRA. And after Bathurst Council provably, deliberately killed that water system off after mass community pressure, a year later, NRA finally kicked in with the full weight of the law behind it and said,
Oh, looks like you did the wrong thing there by causing a local extinction for no reason at all. Not morally, I'm not concerned with that, just legally. So here's the punishment, Bathurst Council. You are getting
A warning. That's right, the authority over the most precious resource there is, weighing in to say, yellow card. And just like every professional soccer player in the history of the game, Bathurst Council bitched and moaned about a penalty that doesn't affect them at all and took the decision to the court anyway, costing ratepayers hundreds of thousands of dollars, which, dude, can you imagine getting caught speeding and the cops saying, I'm feeling nice because it's my birthday, I'll let you off with a warning, and you vowing to take that decision to the High Court if you have to. That's how in the right you think you are, but replace getting caught speeding with killing every platypus there is. NRA, if anything, took Bathurst Council's side, believing their fly in the face of facts fantasy that it was an emergency. Even if it was, and it very clearly was not, and you can actually drink the water that they were wasting, not their job. They're not there to dispense policy on the fly, they're there to enforce the law. The law is that you cannot deny people or the environment water. Thank you very much, state Labor government. This is how complacent and lazy the Nationals are. They can't even be bothered to change the laws. Too many angry letters. They just fill the enforcement agencies with lackeys that don't bother to enforce the law. At which point this needs to be stressed. This is a couple of small dams on a little hobbit river. Imagine what atrocities they're allowing to go unpunished if it takes a community cut off for a year to get them to issue a warning. Let's just zoom out where the Nationals are currently proposing to build and extend on 4 massive dams on really vital arteries. Dungowan, Mole River, Wyangla, Gingin, which, f*** me, how Aussie is that? Mole River, yeah! Gingin will spell the end of one of the most important breeding grounds left to the already endangered populations of the silver perch, trout cod, Murray cod. They need flowing stretches to spawn, as this might shock you, but they can't breed in a bigger version of that half-full year-old bottle of Mount Franklin rolling around the bottom of the passenger seat of your Corolla. It will reduce migratory bird numbers that have already seen steep declines for the last 30 years.
This is the Living Planet Index about what's happening to biodiversity around the world. If we assume 1970 is the baseline, so that's 1, because that's when we started collecting data. And you can see in all the terrestrial systems of the world, compared to the marine and the freshwater, we've lost about 60% of our biodiversity in freshwater systems.
To just shorten this list, just think about the ecological disaster that was Wimbledale and then magnified to the power of the Nationals being in charge of a dam that is about as tall as a 6-story fucking building, which again is just one more damn dam. They're going to build more. It's all the Nationals ever talk about. Dams! That's the only infrastructure regional Australia needs. Not hospitals or schools. Unless, of course, it's a school in building dams. Who's my favourite actor? Jean-Claude Van Damme. Look at that fucking kick. Also, as you'd expect, the fact that his name has the word dam in it doesn't hurt either. Just like dams don't hurt rural Australia, they drought-proof it. No, they don't. They do not create water, just like you filling a bucket doesn't create water. But you know what filling a bucket does do? Exacerbate evaporation. Dams lose water. In the Chifley Dam near Bathurst, they lose nearly 5,000 megalitres, 5 gigs a year from evaporation because of that dam. That's about 10 times of what should be flowing down to the rivulet to keep it healthy, that literally vanishes into thin air. Once downstream is dried out from the dam hogging all the water, it actually takes more water to rehydrate it as the soil needs to remoisturise. Like me after sleep. Oh. Let alone when the dam releases water, it's usually in some fat tactical chunder like some chick in Brisbane at 2 a.m. on a Saturday. So it pretty much just creates a rural tsunami in an environment that's used to fucking billabongs. So it completely erodes the edges of the river, which causes more water wastage. While the truly insane part, the most insane thing about all of this is put aside that this is not a question of if, but a question of when the dam operator dries up downstream because they got into solitaire for a bit and forgot to press the dump button. If, say, Bathurst Council built a water storage for all the water that washes off the gutters from people's roofs, that would handle 1/3 of the town's water needs. Just that one action. Which, if you need any more convincing, just think of it as another fucking dam. God forbid you actually recycled the water when places that are much wetter than Australia already do that. And if you did, you'd solve water shortages permanently. Don't let the Nationals fool you into thinking they're building dams to secure your water. They're not. They're wasting billions of litres by building these monstrosities, and they're doing it for the same reason that they always do: cotton. They're so stupid and out of touch they even admitted it when it came to gin. They said, yeah, it'll be good for cotton. Then the population was like, excuse me? Oh yeah, shit, water security. And not only are they lying to you, they're making you pay for it. Always over budget. Wyangla was supposed to cost $650 million. It's now $2.1 billion of your money just to fuck up New South Wales rivers, even more than they already have, which is why if you are in a rural seat, you really need to do anything you can to expel these evil servants of this evil crop that you won't see a nickel of the profits. That's all privatised. You won't even get to wear it. Most of this is shipped overseas. And you certainly won't be eating it because it's fucking cotton. Like and subscribe, share this around, and if you treat us like you treat the Penworth Northern Daily Leader, pay us as such at our Patreon, and remember, there's a reason they call her Melinda Pavey. That's right, she's a cunt.
Please share and comment below. Comment.